Quite an interesting technique to take a look at in today's full swing analysis. We've got Matt Fitzpatrick here with a driver in his hands, and at the time of recording today's analysis, this past weekend, Matt has just gone on to win for what was the third time in his PGA Tour career this past weekend at the Valspar Championship. Before I get stuck into things, let me play Matt on for you in full flow. There's quite a few interesting talking points in the swing, but also in the setup of Matt Fitzpatrick that's worth going through here. We can see when we zoom in that Matt has for sure one of the strongest lead hand grips on tour. That left hand is turned over. Some people would call that the motorcycle style grip, where he can be able to see plenty of knuckles when he looks down at that left hand. That left hand is rotated over plenty to the point where that FJ, his FootJoy logo on his glove, goes more or less straight up to the sky. Interestingly, when we compare his trail hands, it's not quite, well, it's nowhere near as strong. In fairness, it's actually in quite a, relatively speaking, neutral position. When we look at the V that's formed between his thumb and his trigger finger, it's angled towards his right pec area, right about there. So quite neutral as far as trail hand grips go. What we do tend to see a lot of the time as well with someone who has that strong of a lead hand grip is that they do tend to employ quite a bit of forward shaft lean, and Matt is not an exception to that rule, as we see here. The ball position that Matt has here for driver is also worth a conversation because it's quite a bit back from being just inside his lead heel, which is a fairly common reference point that amateur golfers can be given when they go for a lesson trying to improve their own driver. And the reason why they're told to get the ball forward in the stance is usually because their main desire when the coach asks them, what do you want to get from today, is that they want to gain distance. So how they can go about doing that, because they don't have the speed like someone like Matt Fitzpatrick does. Speed will help you get the ball in the air, which can increase your carry distance and in turn your overall distance, and start hitting the ball past your playing partners, which is quite a nice feeling. But if someone doesn't have that speed, they can try and get their distance up through other means, such as keeping the ball in the air longer from a increased angle of attack at impact. So putting the ball forward in the stance helps them hit more up on the ball and can lead to some gains there from that. But too far forward can also be problematic, which is also very common in the amateur game. Someone places the ball too far forward in their stance, or said differently, too far forward on the arc of the swing. And by the time the club meets the ball, the path is very wipey across, and they can end up hitting pulls and slices very easy from that position. Now, Matt Fitzpatrick, high speed player, we can see that his ball position is quite a bit back from inside the lead heel. It's not a million miles away from being in the middle of his stance here. Rory McIlroy is also someone that amateur golfers can be surprised at when they see his ball position and notice just how far back it can be. The best players in the world will change ball position depending on the shot that they're facing or the way the hole is designed. It's something that is super important at all levels of the game, ball position, because it will have a direct influence on how the club is delivered an impact. But it isn't something that stays consistent, even with the same club. They will change it. So just something to be aware of here. There's no right or wrong ball position. We just need to be aware of how that can change what the club is doing coming into the moments of truth. So as we look to get Matt Fitzpatrick moving into his backswing here, you can see I've sketched in a couple of really important reference lines to show you a trigger that he uses to start his golf swing. So before this club even moves, you're going to see a very subtle move when you watch it at full speed. A little bit easier to see it when we slow it down here. But you'll see that his lead hip moves off that front barrier. So creates a little bit of a gap here, like so. All before that club head has even started to move. So he's shifting a little bit of pressure into that trail side. You can then see as he gets the club moving, he further, ever so subtly, breaks through the trail barrier as well. But I'd like to quickly get rid of that trail circle just to give you a clearer view of what's about to happen here, which is one of the key reasons why you can complete such a full turn in the backswing. So if you're an amateur golfer out there looking to hit the ball further, there's a good chance that you're going to benefit most from this part of the video. As he continues to wind up to the top, you're going to see the gap between his trail hip and that trail reference line increase, like so. So that is really important in allowing him to create as much hip depth as he does. And then from there, that's also giving him a huge shoulder turn well past 90 degrees. We can see just how far behind his head, his trail shoulder has gotten by this point. If you're an amateur golfer and feel like you struggle to complete a full turn through a lack of flexibility, oftentimes it can actually be the case that you're not being able to complete a full turn and hit the ball as far as you'd like to, because your move to the top of the backswing doesn't see you create a gap from your trail hip to that trail reference line, and instead it sees you break through that barrier because there's been a lot of sway off the golf ball, and typically that will be accompanied by a spine that stays too much in its forward bend, as opposed to what we see here from Matt Fitzpatrick. And we can see he's got a nice combination of extending, tilting, and turning. Now, at the start of the video, we did talk you through Matt's lead hand being quite strong, and that is why when we bring him back to the top of the backswing, that we can see, we would see it easier from a down the line camera view, but we can see from where the logo on his glove is pointing over here, rather than straight on towards us here from the face-on view. We can see the angle that it's at over here is showing us that there's quite a bit of cup or extension in that lead wrist. And again, that is a product of how he's attaching his left hand to the grip at the start. Now, as we unwind him from here, the next move might remind you of a certain Spanish golfer, Sergio Garcia, when you see just how much lag is created on the way down. And as we monitor his lead hip, let's mark its starting point from the top. And as he comes down here from this position, you'll see that extends up and clears out of the way, gives himself plenty of room to fire through. And we see a fairly standard procedure coming through impact in terms of how his spine is angles. And we can see that his lower center is leading that of his upper, or said differently, belt buckle is forward of shirt buttons, which gives him the appropriate amount of shoulder tilt and spine tilt that he's looking for to optimize his launch as he comes through impact. As we continue to play Matt on here, I want you to point your attention in the direction of his lead foot here. And you can see that he experiences some dynamic foot flare. If you watch this move here, you can see that lead foot clears out of the way. And as we bring him back to his starting point here, you can see that he actually does have a bit of flare at the starting point. He flares his lead foot quite a few degrees more relative to that of his trail foot. We can see here turned out quite a bit, but as he comes through impact, we certainly see that shift out of the way quite a bit more, like so. Finishes his swing in perfect balance, and all in all, I must say Matt is one of my favorite players to watch on tour. He's got quite a few unique pieces in his swing that we've covered in detail here today. So hopefully you've enjoyed the video, and maybe you might have even found a couple of pieces in there that you can take inspiration from to try and apply into your own technique to try and take your game to that next level. If you've enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit the thumbs up and the subscribe buttons. It really helps with the growth of the channel, but it also just ensures that you won't miss out on any future content coming from myself here on the channel, of which there's plenty lined up to be released very shortly. For any golfer who has stayed until the end of a lengthy video like this, which is quite detailed, orientated, and very heavy on the educational side of things when it comes to the golf swing, you strike me as someone who is serious about learning and serious about finding ways to improve their own golf. If that is the case, then you can reach out and connect with myself today, regardless of where you are in the world. My name is Seán Marks. I'm a PGA professional, and I specialize in teaching the full swing, and I help golfers worldwide through an app called Skillest that I use for my online coaching, help players reach their full potential tee to green. The online program that I run on Skillest that helps people of all ages and all skill levels reach their full potential tee to green is called the Long Game Transformation Program. The minimum commitment for this program for students looking to sign up is that of a 3-month period. Often is the case where students want to continue on long beyond this point because they've seen the value in it, their game has seen the improvements, and they want to continue to push the boundaries and see what's possible. But let's say that you only wanted to sign up for the first 3 months. Here is exactly what I can promise you will learn. You will learn the 3 fundamentals required to completely transform your long game, and that is strike, direction, and distance. The first, in strike, you need the ability to control your low points. Second of all, when we touch on direction, you need to be able to have a predictable curve and a consistent shot shape that you can rely on out on the course. And third is distance. You need to be able to know how to pump enough distance into your game to be competitive at the level of this sport that you desire to play at. This program is designed to give you as much support as you need. There's nothing pre-recorded. Everything is personalized to the individual. There's open communication channels that you can message me whenever you want. Anytime you have a question, you can message me. There's unlimited feedback on the program. And if you're ever in doubt as to whether you're doing a drill correctly or whatever the case may be, you can message me and get feedback within a turnaround time of never any more than 24 hours. If you're ready to start improving today, I will leave a link underneath the video in the description box where you can download Skillist. Alternatively, you can search for it on the App Store and get started on your improvement journey today. If you want in-person coaching with myself in Ireland, I also work with players based in Ireland online, but if you'd like in-person coaching, you can see my booking diary on my website, seanmarksgolf.com. So I look forward to seeing you, whether it's in person or remotely online, very soon.